Central planning has been part of government policy toward the pandemic. Most of us can agree that central planning worked badly in the past, but maybe this time is different? A comparison with, say, the Soviet Union might seem pretty distant. Our leaders today are more educated and wielding modern technology. They seem to have good intentions, and on the rare occasions that they don't, will remember that they are accountable to voters. One economist told me that COVID-19 has a real externality, which I agree with. But then he added that today's side effects of central planning are just hypothetical. I disagree with that. The law of demand is not hypothetical. So the real question, easy enough to answer in a short video, is whether the basic incentives today are different than they were in economic plans that failed in the past. I made a previous video about the unintended side effects of central planning. A link to that is in the description below. One of those side effects is poor communication in the planning hierarchy. Incentives of managers are often to pass false information to superiors. Superiors know about this incentive and therefore rationally reject much of what subordinates report as mere insubordination. Having educated, democratically elected planners does not fix this problem. With the benefit of hindsight and years of scholarship, we can see this communication problem in the Soviet Union. The central plan there was to grow the nation's industry and finance that growth with extra production from the agricultural sector. I think it's a mistake to look at the peasants here as the purely good guys and the planners as the purely bad guys. Both were reacting to the incentives of their situation. Some peasants were stealing, and the planners knew that kind of thing happened. Each understood the other to be an uncooperative adversary. These are quotes from an excellent PhD dissertation written by Nellie Orr. She was one of the first Western scholars to dig into regional Communist Party archives, in particular in a region nearby Ukraine. In that kind of relationship, the planners understand that interests are not aligned and discount what the subordinates tell them. This is a quote from my book published in the Soviet Union, giving us an idea about what Soviet leadership thought about the lower level officials. With the benefit of hindsight, Russia keeps appearing in the modern American story. Although I know Mrs. Orr for her dissertation, America got to know her more recently when President Trump complained to his 70 million Twitter followers about her role in what appears to be the relay of opposition research from the 2016 Clinton campaign to President Obama's Federal Bureau of Investigation. Now let's look at some of the planning hierarchy in the COVID-19 pandemic. New York and some other states were centrally managing hospital capacity. They got the idea that nursing homes, which are separate facilities from hospitals, could help out. On behalf of the governor, the New York Department of Health issued an order that required that all nursing homes in the state admit residents who might have COVID-19. The order also prohibited the nursing homes from requiring COVID-19 tests for residents or potential residents. Nursing homes objected. Their residents are particularly vulnerable to this infectious disease. As with the Ukrainian case, we should not make this out as purely good nursing homes against purely bad folks in the governor's office. Nursing homes had little stake in what might happen in New York's hospitals. The problem is the adversarial relationship that comes with using force rather than voluntary participation. California appears to have heard the nursing homes and took their objections seriously, softening its order within a few days. But New Jersey was slower, and the New York governor publicly reprimands nursing homes for complaining about his order. Let's see what he says when asked if it is okay for nursing homes to object to his order.
Nursing homes object to, one, this policy, and two, They don't have the right to object. That is the rule, and that is the regulation, and they have to comply.
Let's summarize the parallels. In the Ukraine, the subordinates were the peasants. In New York, they were nursing homes. Both had a role in the central plan. The peasants were supposed to be helping out industry. The nursing homes were supposed to be helping out hospitals. In both cases, the subordinates objected to the requirements imposed on them from above. The peasants said that they could barely produce enough to feed themselves and had no capacity to meet state quotas. The nursing homes said admitting potentially infected patients is a great risk to extant residents. Nursing homes said they were not prepared to accept those patients. In both cases, the leadership recognized that interests were not aligned and discounted what they heard from subordinates. Only in hindsight is it obvious that the subordinates' concerns were at least as real as they were strategic. The results do not appear so different to me. 5.1% of Ukrainians died from starvation in 1932. 5.2% of New York nursing home residents are thought to have died from COVID-19 before the governor finally rescinded his order on May 10. It is worth considering whether central planning will fail in the modern era for some of the exact same reasons that it failed in the past.